Okay, so you're thinking about selling your house. It's a huge deal, right? And it all kicks off with this one super important document, the listing contract. So today, we're going to tear into the Minnesota exclusive right to sell agreement. We're going to demystify it, break it all down, so you can sign on that dotted line feeling totally confident. When you first look at this thing, it can feel like a total wall of text, just a bunch of legalese. But don't worry, we're going to break it down into what really matters, simple choices and commitments. I promise, by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what you're signing. So here it is, the official form from the Minnesota Association of Realtors, and look right up top at that title, Listing Contract, Exclusive Right to Sell. That one word, exclusive, that is everything. It's the whole ballgame, really, and we're going to unpack exactly what that means for you right now. Okay, let's jump into section 1. You can think of this part as the foundation of your whole partnership with your broker. It's basically the digital handshake that sets all the rules for everything else that's going to happen. So, what does exclusive rate to sell actually mean? Well, here's the bottom line. It means that even if your cousin Vinny shows up out of the blue and wants to buy your house, your broker still gets paid their commission. And you might think, wait, why? Well, it's because you're not just paying them to find a buyer. You're paying for all their expertise, their marketing firepower, and for them to manage this whole complicated process from start to finish. Now, this contract isn't forever, it's not a till death do us part kind of thing. But it's also not a casual date. You're setting a very specific start and end date for this relationship. And if you want to break up early, it's got to be a mutual decision, and you both have to put it in writing. All right, so that's what you're promising. But what are you getting in return for giving your broker these exclusive rights? Let's flip the script now and look at what they're committing to do for you. This is their side of the bargain. Your broker basically becomes your personal marketing department. They're promising to do all this stuff, putting that for sale sign in the yard, getting a lockbox on the door, and, this is a big one, getting your property listed on the multiple listing service, the MLS. That's what blasted out to all the other agents and onto the big real estate websites everyone is scrolling through. Okay, let's talk about the internet. I mean, in today's world of Zillow and Instagram and just endless scrolling, right? Your home's online presence is everything. And this next part of the contract is so important because it actually gives you the controls. You get to decide how your home shows up online, right down to whether people can see your address or leave comments. So first, you've got something called IDX sites. The easiest way to think about these, they're the big public websites, the online storefronts where pretty much anyone can just browse through listings from all sorts of different brokerages. No sign up required. And then there are VOWs, or virtual office websites. Now, these are more like the VIP room. To get in, you have to register. You have to create a relationship with that specific broker. But once you're in, you get access to way more detailed info, all the extra data that isn't on the public sites. And this is where you get to make some key decisions. You've got 4 big choices about your online presence. Should your listing even be online? Do you want your exact address out there for everyone to see? Are you okay with websites showing those automated value estimates? And how about public comments? Now, you'll see the default for all of these as yes, because that gets you the most eyeballs. But the power is yours. You can say no to any of them if you want more privacy. Okay, let's talk about the part everyone really wants to know about, the money. How does your agent get paid? This section always gets a ton of attention, and for good reason. So let's break down exactly how it works. Now, I want you to lean in and listen to this because this might be the single most important sentence in this entire document. It's literally in all caps for a reason. Broker commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. Let me say that again. They are negotiable. It's not a fixed price. It's not take it or leave it. You should absolutely have a real open conversation with your agent about their commission and what services that includes. So when does the broker actually earn that commission? Well, obviously, it's owed when the sale closes successfully. But there are a couple of other scenarios you need to know about. What if you accept a great offer, but then you get cold feet and decide to back out? Or what if you get a full price offer that meets every single one of your terms and you just refuse it? In those cases, the broker has technically done their job and the commission is still owed. That's a really important one to understand. And then there's this thing called the protection clause. Think of it like a safety net for the broker. Let's say your contract expires. Then, just a few weeks later, you sell your house to someone who your agent originally brought through. Well, this clause ensures the agent still gets paid for the work they did. They'll give you a list of those potential buyers when the contract ends, and if you sell to someone on that list within a certain time frame, that X days you see here, they've earned their commission. And by the way, that time frame, also negotiable. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the broker's job. Now let's shift gears and talk about your responsibilities as the seller. And as part of that, we need to dive into a concept that can be a little tricky, but is super, super important to get. It's called dual agency. So let's imagine a scenario. What happens if the very same agent you hired to sell your house also brings you the buyer? I mean, on one hand, that's great, but it creates this very specific situation called dual agency. And the thing is, the contract makes you decide right up front whether you're okay with that possibility. This really breaks down the difference, and it all comes down to loyalty. On one side, when they're your exclusive agent, they're your champion, they're in your corner. They have what's called a fiduciary duty. That's a fancy legal term that means they are legally bound to act only in your best interest. But if they become a dual agent, their role changes completely. They switch from being your champion to being a neutral referee. They can't advise you or the buyer on price or terms. Their job is just to make sure the transaction is fair to both sides, without advocating for either one. So what's the right move? Well, it's a trade-off. If you say yes to dual agency, you open the door to every possible buyer, including all of your agent's own clients. That's a wider net. But if you're not comfortable with the idea of your agent not being 100% in your corner, you can absolutely say no. It's your call, but it's a big one, so really think it through. All right, we are in the home stretch now. Let's finish up by looking at some of the final legal details. And this isn't just boring fine print. This stuff is actually in here to protect you. Okay, please do not tune out for this part. The contract includes this huge, bold warning about wire fraud for a very, very good reason. This is not just some standard legal jargon, it's a critical alert about a very real and growing threat that could literally cost you every single penny you make from selling your home. The scammers out there are incredibly sophisticated, but you can beat them, and it comes down to these simple rules. Never, ever trust wiring instructions that you get in an email. Just don't. The number one thing you can do, the most important action, is to always verify those instructions by picking up the phone and calling a number you know is legit, a number you got from your agent or the title company at the very beginning of the process, not one from a last-minute email. It's one phone call. It takes 2 minutes, and it could literally save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, there you have it. You've seen what's inside, you know the choices you have to make. You're not just signing a document anymore, you're entering a partnership. And now you're equipped to make that a really successful one. So use this knowledge, ask the right questions, and work with your agent to get the absolute best outcome when you sell your home.